Hello and welcome to Chess Goblin. In this video, you will learn the fried liver attack. The fried liver attack is an opening for white. And in this video, I will show you the three main ways that this opening can play. And at the end, I will show you two traps that black tries to play against it and what you want to do as white to avoid those. So this opening starts off with e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6. And then you develop your bishop to c4, initiating the Italian game. And your idea with a fried liver attack is to attack this pawn on f7 with your bishop and later developing your knight and attacking this pawn, forking the queen and the rook. And for this to work, black has to move their knight to f6, blocking this diagonal from the queen so that we can place our knight on g5. And for the first variation that this opening is played, sometimes your opponent will just let you have it and they'll just keep developing their pieces. And here, you're going to capture this pawn and you will end up winning the rook. This is very good for us, a rook versus a knight, and we will do very well in this game. The second variation that it is played, and this one is the mainline theory of the fried liver attack, and that is with the d5 pawn, which is the only way that black can block this diagonal. And after they block it with a pawn, we recapture with our pawn. They attack our bishop with their knight. We give this check. They block it with their pawn. We give an exchange of pawns, and then we drop our bishop to d3. And I favor this position as white, since black has really weak pawn structure with big holes, and it is a lot more comfortable position to play as white. Another way that black might play this instead of blocking with their pawn is they might block with their bishop. And you can just trade off bishops and then bring your knight up to protect your pawn, or you can just bring up your knight right away. And if they capture your bishop, you recapture with your knight. And they cannot capture your pawn on d5 because then you have this royal fork picking up the queen. So those are the two ways that you can play against the mainline theory for the fried liver attack. The third way that this opening is played is after d5, you recapture with your pawn. They give this natural capture with the knight. It feels like a natural capture for black after they recapture with your knight. And you can actually sacrifice your knight on f7, forking the queen and the rook. And obviously, if they don't capture your knight, you can just pick up the rook in the corner. But if the king captures the knight, which they have to, you give this check with the queen, attacking the king and the knight. And in this position, there's a couple different moves that black can do here. They can obviously block with their queen, but then we just end up picking up the knight and doing very well here. The other option is they move in the corner, and this will actually lead to a checkmate. If they move any of one of these squares, we can just pick up the knight and no problem. The third option and the last option is they protect their knight with their king. And here you do not want to just trade off pieces. Instead, what we want to do as white is just add more pressure to the knight. Just add more pressure to it by developing our knight. And what black has to do here, they either have to protect it with their knight going here or here. For example, they protect it by going here. And in this position, we go d4, just attacking all the pieces around their king more. And if they capture it, we give this check, and we end up picking up the knight. And they cannot actually capture back here with their knight, or this leads to checkmate. But they might not capture back our pawn here. They might not capture back. They might defend their knight with another pawn. And here, you just want to capture back, and they cannot capture, or we just bring more pressure into it. And what you want to do here is castle, bring your rook over, bring your bishop up, bring your bishop up here, pinning their knight to their queen, and then just keep adding pressure to the black pieces. It is very difficult for black to get any attacks here. They're very locked up, and it is very difficult to get any offensive ideas for black. The other way that they can defend their knight is by moving to b4. And then they're also threatening our pawn on c2. But we don't really have to worry about that threat right now. That's not really a big threat, because in this position, we just want a castle. And if they capture our pawn, now we got their knight. And after they move their king, they actually cannot capture, then we just drop back our bishop, attacking their knight. And they cannot actually capture our rook in the corner, because this leads to checkmate. So they cannot actually capture our pawn there. Instead, the best move is just defending this knight again, and then we show them the move d4. And this is very similar to what I just showed you with the other variation with the knight back here. And then we just, ideas of bringing our bishop up, bringing our rook over, and just keep adding pressure to the black king. And now you will see the two traps that black tries to play against the fried liver attack. The first one is the Traxler, and they have the idea of just letting you have this pawn because they want to sacrifice the bishop on this pawn. And what you want to do is, after you capture this pawn, forking the queen and the rook, they sacrifice the bishop on f2, and in this position, you do not want to recapture the bishop. Instead, just move your king over, and you will end up winning this rook in a corner. If you sacrifice, if they lose their bishop, then their knight comes down, they open up this queen file, and you are in big trouble. So if you see the sacrifice right here, do not capture the bishop, just move your king over. The second sacrifice or trap that black tries to play in this position to dodge the fried liver attack is they sacrifice their knight here, capturing this pawn. And what you do not want to do, you do not want to capture their knight back, because then they have this forking our knight and our bishop. So instead, after they capture our pawn, we just want to give this check, forcing their king to move. Now they've lost the ability to castle. And then we go d4. And the idea of d4 is they cannot capture a knight back. Otherwise, now we get the queen. We pinned the king to the queen. And if they capture with this pawn, then we bring our bishop back, and we will end up saving our bishop and being in superior position, attacking both their knights, and they still can't capture our knight. Otherwise, we are pinning the king to the queen. The other way they can play it is they capture a pawn with their knight, and then we just kick their knight away and bring our bishop back. This is the fried liver attack. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and if you have, hit that like button down below and subscribe if you have not already done so before. I hope to see you in the next one.